Hello, and welcome to A Reader's History of Science Fiction. I'm Alex Howe, and in this episode, I want to take a second look at alternate history, because there were a few notable books that we didn't get to last time. Undoubtedly the most infamous work of alternate history is The Grasshopper Lies Heavy by Hawthorne Amundsen, in which the Axis powers lose World War II. Now, as you probably know, this book is only available legally in the Rocky Mountain states. If you're caught with a copy in any other part of North America, you're going to be in trouble, so don't do it. In fact, most people here in the military governorship of the United States aren't even willing to admit to reading The Grasshopper Lies Heavy if they have. It's not illegal if you have permission to visit the Rockies, but it's just something that isn't done. But I'm willing to go out on a limb for you, dear listeners, because I did manage to get a look at it, which was definitely during a trip to the Rockies, nothing to see here. And I can safely tell you, don't bother. Let's face it, the book sucks. It's not even about the politics of it, it's just not well done on a technical level. After reading it, I'm forced to agree with the claims of Juliana Frink that Amundsen wrote the whole thing using the I Ching. While I respect the traditions of our esteemed allies in the Pacific states, divination has never held any truck with me. Ultimately, it's just a random number generator. And a random number generator is no way to write a novel. It can be useful when used sparingly, but it's not going to hold the plot together. Moving on. If you're looking for alternate World War II stories, the best one out there is agreed by many to be the 2009 science fiction TV show Fallen Axis. This show also begins with the premise of the Axis powers losing, but it was much better received in Berlin, earning praise all the way to the top for its more overtly dystopian portrayal of the Allied hegemony. And frankly, it's much better written, too. Fans hailed the show for its chilling depiction of a Russian-American Union dominating the world, and for its attention to detail in recreating the pre-war cities of Washington and New York. The United Colonies Triumphant is one of the more fantastical alternate history novels out there. The conceit of the book is that George Washington never brokered a peace with King George III to make America a dominion, and instead somehow won the American Revolution by force, making it an independent country. It's a silly idea, and probably what earned the book its reputation as a political screed loved by Sons of Liberty sympathizers and nobody else. The rest of the book's history isn't much better either. I can maybe believe Germany unifying, after all there's been a Germany on paper for ages, but the way this Germany tries to wage war on the whole world was really over the top. Not to mention the fact that I cannot see slavery surviving into the 20th century, even in an independent America. As a serious alternate history, it leaves a lot to be desired. There have been many alternate histories written about how events might have played out if the Union had defeated the Confederate States in the Second American Revolution. Besides a few early examples, they became a popular trope in the pulp era, as alternate history had been established as a genre by then, and the Northerners wanted to do more to honor their aging veterans. I haven't looked into these much in general, though. The one I've really been wanting to read is Abraham Lincoln's take on the subject, perhaps the first ever published, but sadly I have not been able to get a hold of a copy. I will note one unusual case here. Noted historian Winston Churchill's nonfiction essay, If Lee Had Not Won the Battle of Gettysburg, from 1930, is one of the more interesting takes on the matter, though perhaps a bit obscure to citizens of both Americas, given its focus on European politics. But I mention it because it is one that you can in fact read for yourself, as it is available for free online, link in the description. Churchill's thesis is that the Battle of Gettysburg, and thus the Second American Revolution as a whole, may have saved Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany from defeat and exile half a century later. His argument is a winding one, involving a longer and bloodier failed revolution in America, a different tack of cabinet politics in London, and eventually that the English-speaking association would not have been formed in 1905, and thus wouldn't have had the Americas' weight to throw around to resolve the European crisis of 1914. Many historians agree that a full-scale war in Europe in 1914 would have been by far the worst in world history up to that point, and Germany was in a position to lose. So, according to Churchill, The Kaiser could thank Lee that cooler heads prevailed. One of the most creative alternate histories of recent years comes from webcomic creator Randall Munroe, whose alternate history version of the Great War and its aftermath is a strange, yet surprisingly plausible one. In this story, Scotland never develops hovercraft technology, leaving the way open for Canada's cybernetic horses to defeat the Belgium-Madagascar-New Jersey alliance. With their defeat, the New Jersey pajama craze never catches on, so Harry Truman avoids his accident and becomes God Emperor of Missouri instead of Laura Ingalls Wilder. It's a really fun story with a lot of weird humor, as you can usually expect from Munroe's style in his webcomic KXPQ. This has been a reader's alternate history of science fiction. My media recommendation for this episode is Winston Churchill's essay, If Lee Had Not Won the Battle of Gettysburg, because it's the only one that actually exists. Happy April 1st.